All right, so today we're going to dive into something uh, pretty wild. It's not something you can actually like see or touch, but it's this intense energy that people feel, and it's called Kundalini.
Yeah, it's like a powerful sensation. Some people describe it as this energy moving through them. And we're lucky enough to have a firsthand account to really get into it.
Awesome. Yeah, let's get into it. So we're going to be checking out this video from the YouTube channel. I'm just going to say the name as it's written. It's Tuna no Me. And they talk about their own Kundalini experience. So we'll try to break down what they're saying, see what key elements pop up, and yeah, maybe get you thinking about this whole phenomenon as well.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
I think a lot of our listeners are familiar with this concept, at least in theory, but it's one thing to read about Kundalini in a textbook or hear it mentioned briefly, and quite another to hear someone describe what it felt like to actually experience it.
Totally. And that's exactly what we're going to do. So the speaker starts off by tackling the big question, what is Kundalini? And for them, it's basically energy that flows through a person. But here's the thing. They say you need a certain level of sensitivity to even notice it.
Right. It's not like something you can see with your eyes or anything. It's more about feeling it, sensing it internally.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they describe it as this really strong sensation that can last for who knows how long. And they use a pretty powerful comparison, too. They're like, think of something incredibly strong, a massive power inside you.
Wow. Yeah, that definitely paints a picture. And they go on to say that this energy isn't exactly something you can just control. Like it can take you by surprise when it shows up.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And when they get into their own personal experience, the language gets even more intense. They say it felt like an incredibly strong energy, almost like an extreme orgasm. But it also came with this feeling of power bliss and just total well-being, like intense happiness.
That's fascinating. They really emphasize the intensity of the experience. They even say it was almost unbearable, like beyond any kind of normal pleasure. And to give us a sense of the scale they're talking about, they say if a loving act is a 1, this Kundalini experience was like a 10 plus.
Whoa, okay, that's huge. And they believe they felt it so strongly because they were super sensitive at the time. So how about we move on to the next big question? How does Kundalini appear?
Yeah, so according to the speaker, it seems to show up when someone is ready for it. They describe it as this potent internal sensation that just kind of happens out of the blue when the conditions are right.
Huh, that's interesting. And they really stress that it's not something you can just decide to do or make happen. It's more like it chooses you.
Yeah, exactly. They even compare it to lightning. You can't
Mhm.
control it, you just witness it when it strikes.
That's a great analogy. So the speaker wasn't looking for anything special. They were just deep in meditation, and then bam, they felt this sensation that was way more intense than anything they'd felt before.
And it wasn't like a quick flash either. They say this sensation just kept getting stronger for like 5 or 10 minutes until they couldn't even sit still anymore.
Oh, wow. I can only imagine. And they describe it as feeling like they were sitting on a volcano with this burning sensation. That must have been wild.
Yeah, it sounds pretty intense. The burning sensation is something you hear a lot in these Kundalini stories. It's often linked to this energy center called the Manipura chakra, which is located right around the solar plexus.
So they were so overwhelmed by this feeling that they actually had to leave their room and go sit under a tree out in the forest until it finally calmed down. Now that's powerful stuff.
Definitely. So this leads us to the next question. Why does Kundalini appear? And the speaker's take on it is pretty interesting. They believe it appears to fulfill its own potential, to give meaning to its existence.
So it's like this energy has a purpose, and it comes alive when someone experiences it.
Right. And they also talk about this idea of inner purification, which is a common theme in many spiritual traditions. They believe that living ethically and having mental discipline are key for spiritual growth.
Makes sense. So on a personal level, the speaker thinks their Kundalini experience happened because they stopped doing things that were causing them inner turmoil.
Right. They were creating negative energy for themselves, and they realized that and changed.
Yeah, they talk about spending years working on themselves, letting go of harmful actions and thoughts, and meditating every day. And they think this helped clear the way for Kundalini to show up.
It's like they created the space for it by purifying their inner world.
Totally. Which brings us to, where does Kundalini appear? And the speaker's pretty clear about this. It happens inside you in your consciousness. It's not tied to any specific place in the outside world.
Right, it's an internal phenomenon.
Yeah.
And for them, it happened while they were meditating in their room. They describe it as feeling like a sudden draft of air coming in.
Okay, so it just kind of appears internally out of nowhere. So now the question is, when does Kundalini appear?
Well, the speaker emphasizes that it happens when someone is ready to receive it. Again, it's not something you can control or force. It's more like a gift that you're given when the time is right.
So timing is key. They say it shows up when all the right conditions are in place, both internally and maybe even externally, and the person is prepared. And get this, they also say that once Kundalini has appeared, it's irreversible. Whoa.
That's a bold statement. It makes you wonder if there are other perspectives on that. Is it really irreversible? And what does that mean for the person who experiences it?
Those are some great questions to ponder. So for this person, it happened about 5 years ago, and they describe it as a trigger on their path to awakening. This whole process of deconstruction, facing their suffering, and searching for something more.
So it wasn't the final destination, but like a major turning point on their journey. They see it as a crucial step towards well-being and liberation, a sign they were on the right path.
And they use some really cool analogies to describe it. First, they compare it to the starting gun of a marathon, like the beginning of a huge journey.
I like that one. And then they say it's like lighting a candle in a dark room.
Yeah.
Suddenly you can see things you couldn't before. It made their old life feel like they were living in darkness.
That's a beautiful image.
Yeah.
Okay, so last but not least, to whom does Kundalini appear?
The speaker believes it can appear to anyone who's ready for it. They suggest that, in a way, it's meant for everyone. But they also highlight the importance of self-awareness. You need to be in tune with yourself, to be in harmony with this energy.
It's like the potential is there for everyone, but you got to be receptive to it. They have this nice analogy. They compare Kundalini to a precious jewel that only someone who truly values it can appreciate.
Right. It speaks to the importance of inner work and spiritual growth. They also mention that Kundalini is always there in a way, but we might not be ready to experience it yet. It's like a hidden treasure waiting for us to discover it.
So they believe it appeared to them because they had done the work. They weren't actively looking for it, but they found it by letting go of negativity and striving for well-being.
It's like it comes to those who are prepared on some level for such a powerful experience.
This has been so insightful. So to wrap up our deep dive into this personal experience, we've learned that Kundalini is often described as this incredibly intense and unexpected energy awakening. You can't force it, but it can emerge spontaneously when you've done the inner work and you're ready for it. It's like a catalyst for self-discovery and liberation.
And as you've been listening, you might be curious to hear the full story from the source themselves. The speaker in the YouTube video, Treating a No Couply Curry, goes into much more detail about their journey both before and after this powerful event.
It's definitely worth checking out if you want to learn more. So go ahead and search for their channel on YouTube. It's Night. Spelled out just like that. You won't regret it.
And let us know what you think in the comments. We always love to hear your thoughts and experiences.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring.